Welcome to a brand new episode of the Clear to Send podcast. This is Francois, your host, and today I'm here with Roel. Hey, Roel, how are you?
Hello, good morning.
And we also have Tiago Rodrigues from the Wireless Broadband Alliance joining us again after, 3-4 years. So we're really happy to have him back on the show. Tiago, how are you doing?
Pretty good, Francois. Thank you for the invitation to be back here as well, Roel. It's great to be with you guys and have this opportunity to have a conversation between the three of us.
Yeah, last time was really nice. We talked a little bit about the Wireless Broadband Alliance, OpenRoaming. Today, we kind of want to approach the same subjects a few years later to see how you're doing in your role at the Wireless Broadband Alliance, how everything is going with the Alliance. And then also talk about the evolution of OpenRoaming, because here in the field, we've seen more and more traction. So we want to kind of have a little bit more understanding of, how the project is going, what's going well, what are the challenges, and then give everyone an update on how OpenRoaming is working today.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, first of all, I think the Wireless Broadband Alliance is going pretty well. I'm super proud what we have been accomplished over these years. So as a non-profit trade association, it's great to see more and more companies joining the alliance. I want to call out that one of the big moves was we started to see more and more enterprises, let's say companies like Marriott Hotels or Home Depot or even Zara and supermarket brands joining the alliance. Because at the end of the day, they are the ones that are somehow investing millions and millions of dollars in Wi-Fi because they have huge networks that they provide services. And I see that very positive trend that they want to get involved, somehow influence the industry, have an active voice on the industry, and that is very positive. And I'm proud to see that happening as well in WBI.
Yeah, I think it's really nice to say this because in the past it's been a lot of vendors or chipset manufacturers kind of working together. Like it makes sense, they're working on the new technologies, right. But then the enterprise is kind of sometimes they're like they have to use whatever. Yeah. They follow and then they don't have as strong of a voice. So the fact that big enterprises, it's hard for us small guys to kind of be active and become members and invest all of this. But it's nice to see that bigger organizations are taking the lead and participating in these efforts. And I'm also sure that, the device manufacturers and chipset manufacturers also appreciate the feedback, the field feedback from these enterprises.
No, totally. And even I can share, even in WBI, even for small startups, is a huge opportunity. Like suddenly you have direct contact with, the head of IT of Marriott Hotels or a large corporation, a multinational. Suddenly you have a direct relationship with those guys. So that's awesome to see that.
Yeah, and they have a little bit more skin in the game this time around, and maybe helping getting everyone involved to help make that Wi-Fi a better experience for everyone, not just for the end users, but for the enterprises and getting their devices working properly over Wi-Fi and having some sort of, I'm just going to say like backwards compatibility, right? Like that's probably what they really want.
Yeah, and as you can imagine, and talking about the three giants, Apple, Google, Android, and Microsoft, when they see in front of them people like large corporations, Marriott's and Home Depots and Zara's and others, of course they are going to listen to them because they move a gigantic volume of traffic, a gigantic number of devices, and it's good to see. Very good to see.
It's something they kind of test in their lab.
Exactly.
Okay, so I guess we haven't defined what the Wireless Broadband Alliance is. So would you mind just telling us in like a couple of sentences what is the Wireless Broadband Alliance and what do you do over there? What's your role?
Yeah, so that's a good point. So I'm the CEO of the organization. I lead the activities. Basically, I work very close with my team on the day-to-day programs and projects. But then I need to lead as well with the board of directors. So WBA as a non-profit organization, we have a board of 15 companies, a mix of carriers like AT&T, Comcast, Deutsche Telekom, and some of the large manufacturers like Cisco, Intel, and others, Broadcom. So we together try to set the direction of the alliance, where we want to go as an organization, what are the type of problems we want to solve for the industry. And as you guys know, this industry is very well organized with IEEE defining the standards, and then we have Wi-Fi Alliance picking up those standards, creating certification and testing, and then there is WBA in the middle as well. So we want to define our role as well and contribute for the evolution of the Wi-Fi technology. And at least over the last years, we have been quite successful, and we try to help everyone to move forward.
So can you give an example of a couple of projects that you guys are currently working on?
Yeah, one that we just announced it very recently is about Wi-Fi Allo.
Okay.
So Wi-Fi Allo, as you know, guys, is one more IoT technology. Has been around for some time. Now they have last year or 18 months ago, they had a new spec out there. We started to say, okay, how can we work towards the success of this Wi-Fi Allo technology? And basically, we put in place a series of field trials in real life environment, and we produced a report. We did more than 10 different field trials, and even today, Turk Telecom just announced publicly that they were the first European operators just doing the testing on Wi-Fi Allo. So that's one example, for example. The other one is OpenRoaming and Wi-Fi offloading that we have been working for many years.
So when you start a project, then you just propose it to the members, and then members, they say, oh yes, I want to get involved, I want to participate, I want to do the testing. And then that's how you can rally everyone. And everyone is kind of volunteering their time. Like, how does it work, for the actual work?
Yeah, so the work comes two ways. So there is a bottom-up approach that the members, they can propose whatever they want to do in the organization. But at the same time, there is feedback from the board. And as you can imagine, when we have AT&T, Comcast, Cisco, Intel coming together saying, oh, I want to do this project. So everyone comes around as well. So the members, they submit their projects, then they vote. They do a prioritization, and if you meet some level of criteria, your project is selected, and then everyone volunteers to come on the meetings. If is required, the equipment, people provide on a pro bonus the equipment. The testing is done, results are shared, results are discussed, improvements. And many times what happens is on these tests, there is lots of learnings, and many times we provide feedback to Wi-Fi Alliance or IEEE or any other organization that is interested on that area.
And are these findings public, or is it like, do you have to be part of the alliance to get access to these documents?
Yeah, to get access to the full testing, everything, all the information, you need to be a member. But we do a summary report of all the testing, and we publish, and that is available publicly.
Awesome. Okay.
Does that also include some kind of white paper or deployment guidelines for others, like implementers, to take a look at and go, okay, this is how we should deploy Allo, for example?
Roll, yes. So that normally, I used to say, normally we follow this approach that is, okay, there is always first step is an educational white paper. Then there is a deployment guidelines document, and then we prove those guidelines with field trials testing or deployments in the real life.
In those field trials, are you asking other organizations to participate? Like, do you select some of these more public venues to try it out as their field test, or do you have a specific group that's doing that?
Now, normally, Roel, it's all volunteer basis. So, for example, on this case of Telecom, they said, well, we love this technology. We see some potential. I want to test different manufacturers. I want to do these different types of use cases. I have this specific area that I want to deploy the technology. So, yeah, let's do it. So we start to have regular meetings with everyone that is involved. Sometimes it's only members, sometimes it's members and non-members. I recall a project that we did in Barcelona with the City Council of Barcelona, so they were super involved, and as a municipality, they are not members. So yeah, and then we deployed, and all the results are shared between everyone involved.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing all of this. It's I know it's valuable for people who are not members and they want to kind of understand how it works. Sometimes it's not always easy to understand that when you go on the website and you look at everything. But thank you for sharing all of this. Okay, so let's talk about OpenRoaming, which is one of your big projects. I believe you guys took it over from Cisco a few years back. And I guess my first question would be, what's the update about OpenRoaming? What have you guys been doing in the last couple of years? And how do you see the project? Where do you see the project going in the next couple of months, a few months?
Yeah. So first of all, OpenRoaming is very close to my heart. Is one initiative that I love. I always been involved on improving the Wi-Fi experience. Even on my previous job when I was in Portugal Telecom, I did all the project for eSIM authentication and all that. So it's one of my, let's say, motivations to do my job is to come and we need to improve this. And that's where my passion comes about is we need to improve the Wi-Fi experience in guest environments or public places. The experience that we have today is super fragmented, is very frustrated for everyone. We never know what we are going to get. There is different information coming up. Different devices have different experiences. And that's where PassPoint, to be honest, PassPoint launched by Wi-Fi Alliance back in 2009 was a huge step forward. And then Cisco evolved the PassPoint to OpenRoaming, but very rapidly they understand that as a proprietary solution they will not fly anywhere, and then they decide, okay, we need to deliver this to WPI. They already have the expertise and the know-how on this area, and run it as an industry standard, open to everyone. And what I can tell you, Francois and Roel, is a huge success today. And my view is that one day we are going to have OpenRoaming or Wi-Fi networks with OpenRoaming almost in every street in the world. Because once you start to use it, you love it so much that you want to continue to use it.
And how would you describe, for those who don't know OpenRoaming, how would you describe what OpenRoaming is?
OpenRoaming for me is just an automatic way to connect to Wi-Fi. You don't need to do anything. Your device will manage your Wi-Fi for you. You just enter a space with Wi-Fi and the device connects.
Yeah. So the idea is that, let's say you go to the airport to catch a plane and the airport supports it. You enter and automatically you're roaming from cellular to Wi-Fi without
automatically.
without you doing anything, and hopefully you keep getting a good user experience.
Yeah. That's the end goal. Of course, there is a huge learning process. Even the standard is evolving over time, because as well, there is lots of challenges on the Wi-Fi technology in terms of even quality of service, coverage, and all those issues. And we try to solve them one by one. But the feedback so far has been amazing.
So do you have like an example of success stories of OpenRoaming?
Multiple examples. I will tell you. One example that is the Tokyo Metropolitan Government. So a couple years ago, or better, like 5 years ago, we did with Tokyo Metropolitan Government a field trial about Wi-Fi roaming. And at that time was only carriers. So was different carriers from all over the world. They could go to Tokyo and they could authenticate using the SIM card. And by that time, the Tokyo government, they said, oh, this is cool. So the tourists can come and connect. But it was just like a R&D type of project. So when we was done, and that's it. And then more recently, like 2 years ago, they started to work with one of our members that is a Japanese company. And they did another pilot on OpenRoaming. And they decided to do the pilot in a few locations, and then they decided to do a pilot on the Tokyo Marathon. So for those of you that like to run, marathons is a big thing. So Tokyo Marathon is one of the big seven. There is big marathons, and the big seven, Tokyo is one of them. And the funny part is they deployed two SSIDs. One was an open access. Anyone could attach to that network. They just need to select the SSID. And then they deployed the OpenRoaming SSID, a different name, and they do it. And they promoted the open access. So I imagine whatever SSID they promoted to the runners. Okay, this is Wi-Fi. You just attach to this network. But that Japanese company that implemented the network, they open up the OpenRoaming network to all different types of identities. And what happened when they start to look the numbers, they got more traffic and more users on the OpenRoaming network that they were not communicating, rather than the network that they were putting on all the flyers and all the networks, all the marketing. And then they realized, wow, this is super powerful.
Yeah.
And what happened is all the AT&Ts, Deutsche Telecoms, and Telefonica users that were coming for the marathon, they just attach automatically.
Yeah.
So they realized, wow, this can really make a huge difference. And then that was the moment where they decided, okay, I want to deploy this in all our hotspots. So I think they have like 2,000 or 3,000 hotspots in Tokyo. They deployed in all of them today. By the way, we have a map, a crowdsourcing map with all the locations of OpenRoaming available, so people can go there and
I have it open
play with it.
It's I was surprised to see how many locations there were. I didn't know it was crowdsourced, but there's a lot. And there's actually
Tokyo,
one less than a mile away from me.
Yeah, Tokyo is they really embrace it. They are now working with other government agencies to deploy it. Other municipalities like Kyoto, Osaka, they deployed it. There is in Japan, I think already started. If didn't start, it will start very soon. The World Expo, and they deployed as well OpenRoaming in there. So that's a good example. But another one is another test bed that we do a lot of testing is Fira Barcelona, where we have the GSMA does the MWC. So they deployed OpenRoaming as well for some of their events. And what is super cool is they attach the OpenRoaming ID to the app of the event. And because you need the app to get the badge, immediately you are provisioning with the ID for the open roaming, and basically you just arrive there and you attach. That's it.
I think a lot of people prefer to, like, especially if you go to public spaces, a lot of people, they all just stay connected on the cellular connection, because nowadays it's, it's good. It's pretty much good enough. But they're not like mechanically connect to Wi-Fi unless, you're like a Wi-Fi geek like us, or you're like a teenager and you don't have a SIM card yet.
Correct.
And you're looking for the Wi-Fi.
Correct.
But most people, they'll just say, okay, I'll stay connected to cellular. So I think open roaming, this is where you can kind of fill that gap, because you can, automatically you can put people on Wi-Fi, and you can make sure they have, an even better experience over the Wi-Fi. Yeah, and I like the idea of the app, because you don't have to worry about authentication, profiles, SIM cards or anything. As soon as you have the app, then you can connect automatically.
Yeah, let me give you two more examples. One related with the app. Another brand that deployed open roaming is a brand called Delhaize Supermarkets in Belgium. So their number one goal is, okay, I want to increase my app adoption. So my Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi in the supermarket, you need the app.
Okay.
And once you download the app, you register as a customer, they create the open roaming ID for you.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And from this moment, when I enter as a customer on the shop, they know that I'm Tiago.
Yeah.
Suddenly, through the app, they can start send me coupons. Welcome, Tiago. You want whatever, Coca-Cola or beer, whatever you like, they can promote directly to you.
Yeah, it's all
you need to tell that. You need to tell that to Home Depot, because we never had cell coverage in those spaces.
Yeah.
That's true.
So this is many of my discussions that I have with many people is about, you with open roaming, you lose the captive portal, so there is no way of communicating. Yeah, there is a different way to communicate. So you don't have the captive portal, but you can use other tools like attaching to an app that you can have a much more personalized information. The other example is very quick, is a school. In fact, is here in Portugal. They are using open roaming to differentiate the identities inside the school. So in the past, they had like 5 different SSIDs, one for visitors, one for students, one for professors, one for staff, one for maintenance.
Yeah.
So what they decide is, okay, let's kill all these 5 SSIDs. We have one, and we differentiate on the identity.
Yeah.
So if you have a student's ID, okay, you can do these type of things. There are some traffic and websites and all that is blocked. If you are a professor, maybe you have access to the local server or some local information. If you are a visitor, you have a completely different profile and ability to access the information. So that's another cool feature that you can do with open roaming, because the ID at the end is an enterprise ID that you can limit what you can access to.
Okay. And so they're just using their own identity provider because it's their students, their faculty.
Yeah. So there are many open roaming deployments that they don't accept anyone.
Okay.
I will give 2 examples. So Tokyo, because it's a municipality, is targeting tourists and visitors. They accept everyone. If you have a Samsung ID or a Google ID or AT&T ID, they accept everyone. But then, like this school, they don't accept Samsung. So to access that Wi-Fi, you need to have an ID from them.
I see. Okay. But they still use the open roaming SSID. And then if they wanted to have visitors, they could allow other identity providers and then put them into a VLAN that's just for visitors.
Correct. Okay. And by the way, Roel, the SSID can be whatever they want to use.
Okay.
Yeah, they can write whatever name, because open roaming doesn't use any we use what we call the Roman consortium codes that they are hidden behind the SSID. So the SSID.
So you can name the SSID whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
Your device, if it matches with an identity provider that you have included, it'll automatically join to that SSID.
Correct.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's an IE in the beacon frame that advertises those. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, so perfect segue, I think, in my mind, to talk about some of the challenges of open roaming, because like in your example of a school, the first thing that comes to mind for me is, okay, open roaming is based on .1x. What if you have devices that do not support .1x? Like, you know, do you see that as a big challenge? Because
some IoT
a big
devices.
Challenge. Yeah, it's a big challenge, Francois. Special. I don't say so much on developing countries because majority of the devices are quite recent, but we did pilots in India, for example, and there are a lot of non-1x devices available.
Yeah, I was talking to like a convention center, and I was telling them, you know, we could just configure open roaming and use that for the venue. But then they're like, yeah, we want to have one SSID, and then some devices won't connect to it, and they didn't want to do like, you know, one open roaming and then one PSK for their point of sale system or something.
Yeah.
So they just kept it the way it is. But you know, I'm hoping, you know, I'm guessing what people would do in the field is they'll have their open roaming SSID, and then they may have like an IoT, you know, WPA SSID for those devices. I'm guessing that's how they solve that problem.
Yeah, in many cases there is a transition phase, and to be honest, I recommend that. So maintain whatever infrastructure you have. It can be a PSK or open access or SharePass, whatever mechanism, and you deploy in parallel the open roaming. You deploy your specific identity, and slowly you start migrating people from one network to the other.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess we didn't talk about this for open roaming, but, you know, one big advantage is that you automatically connect to it. But the second big advantage as well is security, because you connect to a .1x network and not an open network. So even though we have open now, we're going to have OWE, .1x will be much more secure because you have authentication and encryption, so that you have that security aspect that you can bring into the public venues, you know, or anywhere really. But for the public venues, you have that security aspect that we did not used to have with Wi-Fi before.
Yeah, super important topic, Francois. And with many regulators that I talk with, they love the idea that every user on open roaming is unique. So each identity is unique. There is no
you can tie the identity. You can tie who the device is or the user. So there's someone behind it rather than unknown users that are just on an open SSID.
Or a random MAC address.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I think I'm just trying to think about all the different use cases I would go through.
Yeah, you can trace back. One thing that many regulators in some regions they love is I need to trace back who is the user. So and open roaming gives that flexibility. Okay, I know that this guy is using a Samsung ID, so if I go ask Samsung who is this guy, Samsung has more details about that specific individual. If I don't know, if the police or someone wants to investigate something.
Yeah, I think there's just a lot of personalization that you could do from a public venue perspective or from a retail perspective to try to increase the end user experience rather than just providing a connection. You can provide them more value, whether that's through the app, like that use case you provided. I think those are all really good ways to better that experience for people. And I think it'll only get better from here because, you know, with Wi-Fi, we only think of it as a utility and that you just need to connect to it to get information, but it can do so much more than that and really help people out.
Yeah, Roel, you can't imagine. We have conversation with one regulator that is looking to OpenRoaming for people without any IT skills.
Mm-hmm.
So underserved communities that somehow they don't know how to get into the internet. They don't have access to anything because they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
They are not able to select an SSID on an iPad or laptop. So the good of OpenRoaming is that you don't need to do it. You just switch on the device and the device do everything for you. So
that's the biggest step is getting someone connected, because I mean, how many times have you walked into a venue, your phone doesn't have any cellular, you're not on Wi-Fi, you look at the SSIDs, they're all password protected or something, right? And so now you're just stuck with no connection. And there's been plenty of times where my phone just starts buzzing and I'm like, oh, I didn't even know I was connected to the Wi-Fi network, but I am. And so to me, that's a lot more valuable, especially when you have no cellular and you need to make a call. Like for me, it's like if I'm going out to the some retail store, and let's say my wife gave me a list of things to get, and there's one I'm like, I have a question on this, I need a caller or send a photo, but I can't send one out because there's no connection. And so that's like being automatically connected just allows us to be connect with the people that we normally speak to. Maybe you need to get work done at these locations. It's easy.
Yeah.
There's also when you travel and you don't necessarily get like a cellular connection from the country that you're visiting, you didn't get an eSIM or whatnot ever. This is very useful because anywhere you go that supports it, you'll connect and you'll start seeing your messages coming in. I'm like, oh, I have Wi-Fi here.
Yeah. And even from a leisure point of view. So imagine if you go visit Tokyo or New York City, how many free Wi-Fi networks exist. And as a tourist, let's be honest, it's a pain. I have to, I'm here on the Central Park. I need to, which SSID can I use? And then I need to do something to attach. And then I go to the subway. I need to do something different.
Different SSID.
Different SSID. Some of them, they ask for passwords. Some of them you need to register. If we can just make it easy, I think.
Get rid of the portal, right? I don't want the portal. The splash page.
Like I said, there is other ways to communicate with the user without being through the portal, I think.
Yeah. I think that's probably a bigger hurdle for some, is trying to get rid of the splash page. And I'm still finding that challenging to speak to certain people of why or how they can get rid of it without like quote unquote exposing themselves, or getting away from any legal things that they want to include in there. I don't know. But I like your idea of using the app. So maybe there's an app that people have to get, and by using the app and joining to Wi-Fi, then you go and accept through those terms of use.
Is there like a OpenRoaming app, like a generic OpenRoaming app that people could use if they wanted to kind of create an OpenRoaming profile that different people could use if they don't want to develop their own app? Do you understand my question?
Yes, there are. We WPI, we have. We don't have yet the app, but we have a portal that anyone can go there, and you just put your data, and we give you an identity, a profile that you install on your device, on your smartphone, tablet, laptop. So we do that. But there are other players, and I will mention Cisco. Cisco has an app that anyone can go and download it, and suddenly you have a Cisco identity that will attach to millions of locations.
I remember I did that for the conference one year. I downloaded that app. Okay, so before I ask you more specific questions about like the implementation, I wanted to talk about another challenge, which is the identity provider. So let's say you want to set up or you want to enable OpenRoaming in your environment. How do you choose which identity providers you want to use? How do you create those connections between your network and those identity providers? Like how easy is it, and how do you make these decisions?
Yeah, so you are touching, Francois, a super important topic. So first thing is with OpenRoaming, if you want to have your own identity, you need to have authentication servers, you need to have your database of users. So you need to build that infrastructure. For some people, it may be a challenge. For some others, they even say that's a benefit because you build your own identity. What we have today to help the people to understand who are the identities available, when you join the OpenRoaming Federation, you need to have a certificate of the federation. So you need to put on your servers a cert that is issued by the public key infrastructure of OpenRoaming. And once you get that cert to put on your controller or your authentication servers, we give you access to a database of all the identities that exist.
Okay.
And then it's up to you to say, okay, I go along with everyone. I'm fine with all these guys, or I will do cherry picking and I start to configure on my infrastructure. Okay, identity A, B, and C are okay, but D, E, F are not okay. By whatever reasons, commercial reasons or geographical reasons, they can select whatever identities they want to give access.
Okay, and I've done, in the past, just like you, I did some eSIM test and configuration, which was a lot of fun when you do that the first time. But I remember that, configuring the SSID for, at the time, it was Hotspot 2.0. It wasn't even Passport. But I remember it's not trivial. It's not just you put a password and you turn it on. You have to find very specific values for very specific fields. And I'm guessing it's the same thing with OpenRoaming, or maybe you're going to correct me, but is there an easier way, or is there some sort of guide that we can follow to easily configure an OpenRoaming SSID?
Yeah, that is one of the huge advantage of OpenRoaming. One of the programs that we deployed with the manufacturer is we need to have on the controllers the easy button. So one-click configuration. So if you accept every single identity, the configuration of OpenRoaming should be as simple as switch on, put whatever name you want on this SSID, and you are on.
Okay.
So we have people like Cisco, Meraki, Miss Juniper, Extreme, HFCL. They deploy this type of easy configuration menus.
Okay.
Back on the times of Hotspot 2.0 and Passpoint, you need to configure one by one tunnels. Imagine, I want AT&T identity, so I need to have a direct tunnel with AT&T, and I need to configure one-on-one relationship. And then if I want Comcast, I need to create another relationship. With OpenRoaming, you join the federation by being recognized with a cert on your servers. You need to build what is the RADSEC. You don't need to build. You can use the Cisco RADSEC or the Extreme RADSEC or your equipment manufacturer RADSEC. We call it distributor. That technology is the one that will identify and distribute the traffic between the networks and the identities.
Okay, and so do you rely on all of these vendors to come up with the documentation on? Okay.
Yes.
So
let's be honest, WBA, we don't have networks. So what we have is a standard, and then has been implemented by all majority of the manufacturers, Fortinet and Ruckus and all those guys. And we work very closely with them just to make a very easy configuration menu on the controllers and admin configuration.
So let's say I have a Juniper Mist infrastructure and I want to enable OpenRoaming. Then there's going to be like a RADSEC connection between the Mist cloud and then your end to do all of those
Yes.
exchanges, so I don't have to create my RADSEC. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Is not WBA RADSEC, so each identity provider, they have their own RADSECs, and each manufacturer, they have their own RADSECs. And the beauty of things is they can discover automatically each of them.
Okay.
Because they all have one cert from the federation. So they recognize, okay, this guy has the right certs to be part of the federation, so I can communicate with him.
Okay, interesting. Okay. Well, that's, that can really help the adoption, I think. The easy button. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. I haven't really seen it. Maybe it's something that's hidden a little bit, but I'll do some digging.
We just need to start. We just need to start getting it into some environments, Francois.
Yeah. It's kind of like, when your wife is pregnant, you start seeing pregnant women everywhere, but when she's not, you don't see any.
Exactly.
So now that we know, we'll start seeing that button everywhere.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And the other thing that we are working on is try to expand OpenRoaming to private cellular and to IoT as well.
Okay. What does that mean?
So for private cellular is, why not for the devices that have those multiple radios, why not using the OpenRoaming identity to be recognized on a private cellular? So suddenly you have let's call a Wi-Fi identity using a cellular technology. So it's something that we have been testing, and if everything goes well on the next 3GPP release, we may have that implemented. What could be quite interesting for scenarios where you have a Wi-Fi and you have a private cellular network, and somehow you can have one identity that can use both technologies.
Okay.
No more SIM cards?
No more SIM cards. That's what could be super interesting for the IT managers, that suddenly they can start provisioning whatever devices they use on, I don't know, manufacturing plant or an airport, whatever it is that use private cellular. Suddenly you have one device that has one unique ID, and when they are under Wi-Fi, they attach to the Wi-Fi, the same ID go to the private cellular and attach to the private cellular.
I wonder how the OS will handle the roaming back and forth.
Yes, you need to have, one of the big things is you need to have, how can I say, someone that can read both technologies and can translate from the AAA server to give information to the OSS and on the cellular side.
Okay. Yeah, that could be very useful in some industries.
Yes. And the other one is the IoT, special for devices that they don't have any user interface.
That's a big one, I think.
Yeah. Imagine you have your speaker for your home instead of configure with an app. Imagine you take it out of the box, you connect to the power, and suddenly is online.
Yeah.
It would have to support .1x though.
Yes. So that's a big thing that we are talking. It's not easy, but I think everyone, at least the industry in WBI, the players in WBI, they are enthusiastic about it because they understand the potential of that.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen from day to night, but in fact, we have been working a lot with FIDO Alliance for this.
Okay.
So is somehow, Francois, is to bring the same principle that we use on regular Wi-Fi with OpenRoaming, I attach to automatically, bring it to the IoT. So can I pre-provisioning one sensor or whatever device, IoT device, with something inside an ID that when it comes under the coverage of a network, it can somehow activate that ID. as you can imagine, this saying it is super simple. Implement it is super complex, as you guys know.
Yeah. I was thinking I just bought a printer to do a sublimation on t-shirts and mugs, and the other day it took me half an hour to get it connected to the Wi-Fi, and I'm supposed to be a Wi-Fi expert.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're not a device manufacturer expert.
Okay, Tiago. So to finish the episode, I wanted to ask you, how can people get involved? Let's say we have someone listening here and they're like, okay, all of this sounds super interesting. How can I get involved, volunteer, become a member, be part of it? What's the process?
Yeah. So the most easy one is you get in touch with the Alliance. Either you go to openroaming.org or you go to wballiance.com and come and talk with us. More than happy to get you anyone interested in engaged. The other option is just contact your manufacturer of your APs. So talk to them. We have, I can tell you, we have on a daily basis requests from all different types of players that, as you can imagine, they don't want to become members of industry standards organization. They just want to deploy OpenRoaming, and they just come to us and say, look, can I test and deploy the OpenRoaming? And we say, yeah, sure. Here is the information. Tell me who is your manufacturer. We can help you guys to talk with them and do a testing on that.
And do you have some sort of documentation on your website for people in the field where you concentrate all of those open roaming deployment guides, or do you just redirect people to the vendor's website?
We have some guides from some of the manufacturers, but let's be honest, we cannot have an updated repository of all the manuals from all the manufacturers. So we have some on the openroaming.org. That is some information there, but what we normally do, we guide people to the right people inside those big manufacturers.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, Tiago, thank you for your time today. Is there anything else you want to add and tell our audience about?
No, it's I'm the one that should thank you guys for your time and for the opportunity.
It's always a pleasure. Obrigado.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Big fan.
Thank you, Tiago. Well, hopefully one day we'll get to meet in person. In the meantime,
let's see if I go. Bruno wants to convince me to go to WLPC Phoenix.
Yes, you should.
Next year. Yeah.
Yes, you should. Yeah, you should really. And I'm sure people would be interested in learning about the outcomes of some of your field testing, because some people do that on a very smaller scale and come and present about it. So I'm sure people would be interested. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see if we see you in February.
Yeah, let's see. Fingers crossed.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Tiago. Thank you, everyone, for listening. This was episode 350, big milestone for us. So keep supporting us, keep listening, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you,
guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.